Perfect. So today, we are going to talk about fat burning hormones and fat storing hormones and the differences and what we can do. So I made some TikTok videos about these. If for those of you that are on TikTok, you can check it out and subscribe, follow me on there. But you can only do short little clips, so I had to break them all down. So I thought, hey, I'll put it all together and we'll do it on a Thursday when we usually talk more, have more about of a weight, focus to our sessions. So having, our hormones, can seem a little overwhelming and can seem complicated in some, sometimes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And having an awareness of these things and how understanding how our body functions, it really helps us to develop the belief systems that we want to have that promote a lifestyle, right, that supports these things. So that's a lot of times when we find we drop off, we stop doing things that are good for us because we didn't really develop the belief system behind it that then built the value in it. So, over time, the exerting that effort or investing that energy or investing that time into whatever the act was or the behavior was, or maybe not, doesn't hold the same value. So continuing to build the values in those activities, but understanding why we're doing what we're doing is very powerful because if you don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, you're not going to stick with it for very long. Okay. It's like, well, I really don't have any idea why I'm doing this. So the next time you wake up and you don't feel like doing X, Y, Z, you're not going to. You're gonna be like, why bother? Right. Where if you say, no, you know what, this is important to me. This is why this is important. It presents a different opportunity, right? For you to stay consistent, for you to develop those habits, for you to be more conscious and aware, more responsible with how we're living and how we're showing up. So it's really important to not to bore you with the process, but it's to build your understanding. Okay, this makes sense. This is why we do what we do. This is why this matters, right? So having the awareness and having the understanding is very important if we want to actually develop a lifestyle change, right? So it gives us a lot of insight and really helps us to hone in on those behaviors that support these things, right? And it helps us to devalue some things that we might be doing that are contributing to results we don't want. So for example, if you're looking to lose weight, but your behaviors are all contributing to fat storing hormones, well, now that gives you some reason, right, to change that behavior and to lower the value in those behaviors. Okay, they're not serving me. This is why they're not serving me. This is how they're not serving me. And make room for building the value in other behaviors, right? So that's how we can use this information very well. So let's get into it. So, there's the fat building, lean muscle building hormone, right? And that sounds really good. So that's an important one. It's something that, hold on one second. I'm having trouble with my computer. Hopefully I didn't freeze on your end. Okay, no. Okay, good. All right, it looks like I'm back. Everything just kind of like freaked out for a little bit. So I wasn't sure if I was still live. I wasn't sure. Anyway, okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is growth hormone. All right. So it's made by a gland in your brain. It's called your pituitary. And after you make it, it travels down to your liver. All right. And this is that fat burning, that lean muscle building hormone. All right. Your body uses it to do lots of things. It uses it to build collagen and cartilage. And without it, you start to feel like you're falling apart a lot quicker, right? So obviously our growth hormones are higher when we're younger and we're in those growing stages of life, going through puberty, while we're growing, it's going to be higher at those times to promote that. And obviously as we age, that declines. So we don't burn fat as efficiently as we age. For that reason, we start to, like I said, we start to feel like we're falling apart a lot faster. That's that aging process. And we don't want to do that. So another thing that it does is it regulates our fuel between our meals, okay, which is really important. That can lead to feeling satisfied between meals as opposed to always feeling hungry between meals. So, and I mentioned the liver earlier because that's a really important part of it, because your liver function affects, okay, it impacts how you're able to utilize and how that growth hormone is able to function in your body, right? So this is how these things are all related. So when it comes to taking care of yourself, it's not just about isolating these individual parts. We have to remember that they all work together to create a specific result. So, and one thing to remember is that your growth hormone, it's stimulated by protein and intense exercise. So not everybody, and we've talked about this many times before about who should be exercising, who should not be exercising. We're not all in a place in our health journey where we can have the intense exercise. So we want to be really conscious and even more so aware of our protein intake during that time. Okay. It's not triggered with light exercise, it's triggered with intense exercise. So if you know that you might start having some symptoms that point back to, okay, maybe I'm struggling in the area, in this area, and I might need a little bit of help. So what are some red flags that your body might throw out and say, hey, I need a little TLC over here? Okay. Well, it could be that pot belly effect, right? Where it's actually mostly fluid usually in those situations. You could have a lot of brown spots, maybe on the backs of your hands or throughout your body. Your joints could be suffering. The whites of your eyes could be a little more yellow and not as white. You could have really bloodshot eyes in the morning. Your eyelids could be itchy and swollen, hives, skin issues. That's a sign that we got to love your liver a lot more. Bloating after you're eating, acid reflux, constipation. I mean, there's a million things that could point back and say, hey, we might need a little TLC over here. Especially gallbladder problems. They seem like they're a dime a dozen, anymore. So it could be headaches, all kinds of things. There's lots of symptoms that could be red flags that would point you in this direction that you might have to, or not have to, but you might want to support that area a little bit. Love that area a little bit, so that this way the growth hormone that you are making can be effectively utilized in the body, because that's important. Having the hormone is one piece of the puzzle, of being able to utilize it is another. So that's important. Another one is your insulin-like growth factor. So that's made by the liver, all right? And then it's triggered by your growth hormone, okay? So at a very basic level, its function is to give the body fuel between your meals. So this is how we talked about the growth hormone can impact that fuel between the meals. Well, that happens because it's made by the liver, and it triggers this IGF, this insulin-like growth factor, right? That creates that stability where your body still has a resource of fuel between your meals. And it does it because it can release stored sugar and fat. So that's why it's a fat burning hormone, right? So insulin is the opposing hormone to control your body fuel while you're eating, but your IGF is stimulated when your stomach's empty. So that's another reason why, things like your fasting window can be really helpful on a weight loss journey, right? So how often are you fasting? Is there time between your meals? Things like that can all be very impactful. And this is the reason why. Like I said, insulin is triggered when you are eating. IGF is in between that time frame. So, and again, when your liver is damaged or it's stressed out, it's overloaded, then this hormone decreases like the rest of them, and it puts even more stress on the pancreas, right, to supply fuel through raising your insulin. So, and we talked about all those symptoms there, you know, to know if, hey, might I have a concern here? Might I have a healing opportunity here? Okay. So the next one is glucagon. So that raises your blood sugar because it taps into the fat reserves. So it's again a fat burning hormone, all right? And again, it has the opposing action to insulin. So it helps control your blood sugar between your meals again, and it's stimulated by eating protein and again, intense exercise. If you're not in the place where you can do the intense exercise, focus on the protein intake. If you are in a place where you can do both, fabulous. We can ignite this, right? So you can utilize both tools, right? Now keep in mind that if you eat too much protein, that will also spike your insulin, all right? Because of the process that invokes. So it's something where you want to make sure that you're eating the right amounts, all right? So if you're not sure what those right amounts are, we can help you figure that out. So the next one is adrenaline. So this is the main hormone that releases fat from your fat cells. So it has lots of functions that get the body ready for a stressful situation, right? Get that adrenaline going. So it creates a clarity, a mental alertness, all right? It can also raise your heart rate. It can raise your metabolic rate. It'll raise your blood pressure. And we trigger this with exercise. It's a great way to do it. Also, cold exposure is another great way to do it. I know it's not an answer that many people like to hear, but it is very effective. It's good for a reason. So that's that one. The next ones are your thyroid hormones. Okay. So these thyroid hormones control the speed of your metabolism. And thyroid medication is, again, you know, a dime a dozen. It seems like you can't throw a stone and hit someone that isn't on a thyroid medication. But it's very important to realize that your thyroid doesn't function alone. We've done other videos on that. Maybe I'll do another one next week on thyroid function. Thyroid function and the hormones that it produces is a snapshot or a picture of the resources that it has available to it and how well all these other things are functioning around it. So just giving your body the thyroid hormone might manipulate your blood work, but it isn't going to solve the problem, the reason why you were having that impaired function to begin with, okay? So it's very important, even if you are taking thyroid medication, it gives us this false sense of hope, or I mean, not of hope, but a false sense of security, thinking, okay, problem is solved. It's not solved. You know, what created that issue is still running amok. You just don't have the symptom anymore. So it's kind of like just turning the fire alarm out in a burning house. The house is still going to burn down, but you're just not going to hear the alarm anymore. So it's very important to keep that in mind. And then the next one is testosterone. So this is the last one. That's made by your adrenal glands, testicles if you're a male, ovaries if you're a woman. And it's going to help you to get those lean muscles. Okay. It's also supportive with your sex drive. Obviously men have more of this than women have, you know, and that contributes to their male characteristics, but women, it's very important for women too. They didn't start really testing often for this in women until more recently, because they came out with these pellets that they could inject you with. So, you know, now women are becoming more aware of their testosterone levels, you know, because they're offering them these pellets. But there's other concerns here. It can be too high in women too, you know, and you'll start to get things like facial hair and a deeper voice, and maybe even male pattern baldness. All right. So, and this also is stimulated by exercise and it's countered by estrogen. So there might be some balancing that needs to be done there, but it is an important factor. And we want to have it in the right amounts, even if you're a woman. Okay. So don't write that off as an important thing. Then we have your fat storing hormones. Okay. So let's see, where are we at on time? We're going a little, maybe we'll save the fat storing hormones for next week. And we'll talk about them then. So I hope if you have any questions, post them in there. Being aware of these things and how they all contribute to our experience is very important. but keeping in mind what it takes for your body to make your hormones. Okay, so protein intake, minerals, making sure your liver is functioning well, making sure that you're consuming healthy fats and then digesting those fats properly so that your body can use them. So it all plays a role and mixed in together. If you want some guidance on this, our Reset to Thrive program is a great resource for help in this area and support in this area. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed or like you need a little bit more support, that is a great option. So you can always reach out and message me if you want more information about that. And I will see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, guys.